Todd Friel from Wretched Radio a couple days ago went on a long rant about the American slogan, "In God We Trust," and the history of that slogan, when it became adopted, and how some recent attempts in American legislature to solidify and codify this as the official slogan of America. And he talked about some attempts to get that removed. But I believe that was all an attempt to set up what he thinks is a funny joke. Now, here at Apologia, I don't tend to cover jokes often, but we did a while back with the Babylon Bee when their observations of what they think an atheist is, I felt needed some rebuttal. And I feel like we're here today with what is going to be Todd's funny jokes. I agree with the adage that it's funny because it's true. The trouble is, what Todd is saying does not ring true for me, the atheist of whom he speaks, but doubly problematic is that he thinks it is true.
Efforts to take God off of our coinage. I would like to predict within the next 3 years, we're going to see a massive run to do it again. And because I'm a Christian and I want to help our atheist friends, I've written some mottos that feel free to adopt these. If you'd like to change the coinage, I have some mottos that atheists really should consider using because I think these, in a pithy fashion, accurately describe your worldview. So here,
I think these accurately describe your worldview, atheists. That's what he said. Pithy, true statements about atheists.
we go, Jimmy. I've got myself our new national motto, possibilities.
I'm ready.
In government we trust. That would be...
Okay. In government we trust. So it doesn't really matter if you define atheism as I don't believe in God or a lack of belief in God or something in between or something else. None of that has anything to do with government. Todd is deciding in advance that atheist means big government. Now, if you remember back to the first story we did with the Gallup poll, while being left of center politically was an indicator of a lack of belief in God, it was not a sole indicator, a strong indicator, or even a definite predictor. We saw that there are many people who are left of center politically who do believe in God. So conflating these two topics is one of the frustrating stereotypes that I hope that other people can drop. There are right-leaning atheists, left-leaning atheists, central. Every flavor you can imagine of political stripe can be found in non-God believers. Todd.
I love myself because we are a therapeutic society.
I love myself. I think he's trying to jab at, again, he's big into his therapy projects, his counseling projects, that people are looking for self-fulfillment and that they love themselves. He's not new and is not outside of the sphere of Christians. The Bible is full of admonitions of people being selfish and looking to themselves. So it's not like this is uniquely an atheist problem. If it is, in fact, it even is a problem. If we don't take care of ourselves first, there's not much we can do to help other people. Todd is taking what he considers to be a socio-political trend and assigning that to atheism, which is great. Maybe this is why we are not trusted, because we're getting saddled with all these things.
Our favorite subject is me. How's about this one? This is really pithy. Let's sin.
Let's sin. So if you are a former Christian of any stripe, you will have heard the "you just want to sin." Sorry, Todd. Sin is definitionally and necessarily some gap between our behavior and what God expects. If we don't believe in God, there can be no gap between my behavior and what God expects, because I don't think there is a God to expect anything. Therefore, I don't think sin is a thing. Therefore, I would never tell everyone, let's sin, because I think that is categorically ridiculous.
Or third world. I'm sorry.
This is so funny to him, he can't even say the words.
Third world, here we come. I think that's a pretty good one because that's what it seems that they're aiming for.
Atheists are aiming for third world status. Now, again, if we go back to the Gallup poll and other various polls of religion around the world, we know that the more third world the country is, the more religious that country is. So the idea that atheists or the godless would be striving for that, forget the socioeconomical and all that kind of thing. And no, we don't want third world countries because third world countries produce theists. Thriving countries, rich countries where everyone's happiness levels are very high, that's what produces atheists. That's what we're striving for. You just disagree with the political method of getting to prosperity. And again, throwing that on atheists, conflating leftism. I'd rather even conflate materialism. That's closer.
Almighty ISIS. Why not? As long as we're going to be a pagan society.
Yeah, again, ISIS. I'm not a huge expert on ISIS, but I know that a lot of the recruitment is grounded in religion. There's no atheist ISIS recruitment.
Smartest generation. And related to that, if you don't like that, we could just use as our new national motto, old people are stupid, because we think that anybody who was born before us couldn't possibly know as much as we do.
He might be referring to this general trend where the younger generation, the younger you are, the more likely you are to not believe in God. And he's viewing that as those young people rejecting the beliefs of the older merely because they're older. That is not why people en masse that never came up in any of these polls that, oh, I think old people don't know what they're talking about. No, it's that now we have the internet. Now we can fact check the things that my grandparents were fleeing persecution in Russia. They were working the land in an attempt to just grow enough food for their families and support themselves. There was not information available to them, nor time to check out the God claims, and everyone around them believed in God, and it was just the community thing to do. It's not that they weren't smart enough. It was they didn't have time, and they didn't have access to the information. I am not rejecting the faith of my fathers because they were older or because they're my fathers out of some rebellion. I've said this many times. I did not grow one IQ point smarter when I decided that I no longer believed. This is all about information. It's all about evidence. It's all about being convinced. Thanks, Todd, for labeling us as ageist. That's cool.
The national motto could be, we kill babies and pay for it.
So, of course, historically, when there was child sacrifice, actual infant sacrifice, that was always religious. There is no secular practice of infant killing. He is, of course, trying to throw abortion onto the atheist label. Again, part of the problem for Todd is that there are plenty of non-God believers who disagree with abortion, who may well be as pro-life as any Christian. There's no atheist position statement on this. I would think that, in general, someone who doesn't believe in God would lean generally towards a pro-choice position, but that's not absolute at all. It had nothing to do with why people stopped becoming believers in general. Again, conflating social issues with the truth of God and thinking it's a big joke because you have miscategorized a group. Yay, Todd. Thanks for giving us a bigger hill to climb. Appreciate it.
We could also put on it, if we don't like that, we mutilate 8-year-olds who are confused about things. And
again, sadly, I think, others may not think so sadly, there's no consensus view among non-God believers about transgender-related issues, about when it is appropriate and when should hormone blockers be used. There's just every possible view under the sun that one can have on that issue is held by atheists. This is not, again, a position paper that we hold. So thanks, Todd.
Finally, my offer to you, my atheist friend, if you're thinking about new national mottos, what might they be? How's about, let's just be honest, we're not going to take God off the coinage. Instead, how's about they say, we hate God, because that is what this is about.
We hate God. That's what this is about. The ultimate betrayal that Todd does not understand what it means to not believe in God or to be an atheist or have any of those non-theist labels. We do not hate God, Todd. We don't think he exists. I think your jokes suck, not because they offend me, but because they're not funny, because they're not true. Come up with something There's plenty of reasons to mock non-believers, to mock atheists. Lots of things you can poke at to be funny. You didn't find any of them, but you amused yourself and you helped reinforce some stereotypes. So, thanks, Todd. And that is the last thing for today, or which we are all losing. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are there any slogans that we do think atheists would prefer on their money rather than In God We Trust? Or should Christians be changing their slogans? Do we have equally unfunny things for them? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts.